Hello all, welcome to the Quest IQ. So I will be talking to you about this statement I have put on personally and solicited by myself, and I will be explaining you the Iran and Israel USA issue from scratch. I will explain you the ABCs of why Iran and Iran USA and Israel are at war with each other in the recent days. Come on, let's jump to the next slide and then I'll be explaining you from the scratch. So in this video, we will be covering topics such as Iran and Israel relations before 1979 and Iran and Israel relations post 1979. The reference of this 1979 year is taken from the regime change. Before 1979, it was Pahlavi dynasty. And after Pahlavi dynasty, in 1979, the Islamic or the Iranian revolution took place, and then Ayatollah Khomeini became the supreme leader. So let's talk about that in detail after I explain you what topics I'll be explaining today. So third topic is that we'll be talking about Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which was signed by the Permanent 5 of United Nations Security Council +1, and this +1 is Germany over here. Okay, and then the fourth one we'll be talking about Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer and Operation True Promise 3. So in the end of the video, I'll be giving you the answers, as this is a fourth topic. We have a lot of time to go over there, but I want you to comment down below by whom these operations were led by. Operation Rising Lion, Operation Midnight Hammer and Operation True Promise were led by which respective countries. And on the fifth one and the last topic, we'll talk about the Operation Epic Fury and the Operation Roaring Lion. And I also want you to comment down these two operations now itself. Let's move to the next slide. So the first topic is that Iran-Israel relations before 1979. So before 1979, when Reza Pahlavi Shah was the king of Iran, or was the leader of Iran, whatever you could say, he has had his flag like this, with a lion in its hand, a lion with a sword in its hand, and the sun below rising from the lion. And that's the reason why this operation is called Rising Lion. Some symbolic element attached to it when done the operation. And this is the new Iranian flag. This is the old one, and this is the new Iranian flag. This flag was adopted in 1979 when Ayatollah Khomeini became the supreme leader. And this was Iran's old and new flag. And then we'll talk about Iran's role and support before 1979. As we've been talking about the Iran's role before 1979, brought you certain proofs which will prove that Iran's support to Israel before 1979 was as crucial as it doesn't sound. After the creation of Israel in 1948, Turkey was the first Muslim majority nation to recognize it. And guess who's on the second place? It was Iran. It was the Reza Shah Pahlavi's dynasty which recognized Israel as a country in 1948. And even Iran held diplomatic ties and peaceful talks when the Arab-Israel War in 1948. Proof where it establishes that Iran had a crucial support to Israel in its hostile times. So Iran's role and support in 1973 war, this is also known as the Yom Kippur War. This was the war where the Middle East had the oil crisis, and the oil prices were Middle East barred the oil prices and stopped producing oil, said it would not supply oil until the war ends, and the oil prices spiked up like a skyrocket in 1973. So Iran supported Israel. Okay, it was not a member of the war. Iran was not part of the Arab-Israel War conflict coalition in diplomatic ties with Israel at the same time. Also, it has Strategic oil sales. Iran refused to participate in the October 1973 Arab oil embargo, opting to increase production rather than restrict oil supply. As I've mentioned earlier, that the Middle East countries have restricted oil supply to the Western nations. Iran played a really crucial role in supplying oil to the Western nations like Europe and the American continent. And also, it also provided logistical support to US supply aircraft to use its airspace during Operation Nickel Class, which provided essential military aid to Israel. It has given aid to Israel. Now, Iran hates Israel to the core. And then, when the Pahlavi was a pro-Western leader, when Iranian nation was in support to the USA and the Western nations, they have provided aid to their enemy country in present today. Next, so I will be explaining you about Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So you may wonder what this is. I'll write the full form and you may note it. Comprehensive Plan of Action signed. The parties for this agreement are P5+1 and Iran. So these P5 are the UNSC permanent members plus one additional nation and Iran. So who are these P5? They are Russia, USA, UK, France, China, 5 countries plus 1, this is Germany. They have signed a joint comprehensive plan of action in 2015 where the conditions are: Iran will allow IAEA, which is International Atomic Energy Alliance. The agreement said that Iran will allow the International Atomic Energy Alliance watchdogs to monitor its nuclear program. This agreement between between the P5+1 and the Iranian nation have restricted Iran to develop nuclear weapons, as nuclear does not only mean about bombs or weapons. It also means about reactors, generating electricity, nuclear energy, etc. As I'm not a science student, I'm not very much aware about the nuclear chemical compound. Well, I certainly think it is U-238 used for developing bombs, and U-235 used for reactors. Well, if I'm wrong, please comment down and correct me. And so, as IAEA watchdogs have come and agreed to closely monitor Iran's nuclear enrichment program, it has violated its terms in from 2020 to 2024, since Trump has assumed the office as second term. In his second term, Trump has declared a war in 2025 June with the Operation Midnight Hammer. So this was the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, where it has agreed, and then it took place to further consequence when Iran violated the agreement. So this was operation. So now let's get back to the answer, where I've asked you over here, where I've asked you the questions on 4th and 5th one. What was Operation Rising Land and Operation Midnight Hammer and Operation True Promise 3? So first we'll be talking about what was Operation Midnight Hammer. Operation Midnight Hammer was launched by United States of America on the Iranian nation, where it has neutralized its significant nuclear facilities. 3 significant nuclear facilities: Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. These 3 bunker buster Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. And then Israel also launched an operation called Operation Rising Land. Rising Land symbolizes the support to the Pahlavi regime, where there was a lion and it was rising with the sun over there at the back. What I mean, And Israeli Defense Forces on Friday announced it, and this was Friday, which was on 13th June 2025. Let me write it clearly over here. 13th June 2025. 12-day military operation against Iran resulted in significant damage to three countries' main nuclear facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, leading to a major blow in national Iranian's regime nuclear facilities. It has also bombed Tehran too, and in retaliation, Iran launched an operation called Operation True Promise 3. Operation True Promise 3 was launched by Iran on Israel in retaliation to Operation Rising Lion. So let's map out the countries over here, and in the Middle East we are, and this is Israel, this is the state of Israel, and this is Iran. So you have Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan over here, three aligned at a perfect rate, and this is Tehran, its capital, and here you find Jerusalem. And this is United States of America, it's Washington DC. And the recent Iran-Israel war. And one more important thing I'd like to highlight is that this sea route over here, this sea route from the Persian Gulf connecting to the Gulf of Oman to the Arabian Sea, is known as Strait of Hormuz. As you might have been watching the news lately, and many of them say that 20% of the oil passes through it. And that is correct, you must believe it. 20% of the world's oil from Iran, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, these major and Dubai also, you have Dubai over here, and these major countries produce oil and then pass it through the Strait of Hormuz. Not only oil, but also certain it is famous for Persian rugs, the carpets, which is in, and this is a very significant trade route, and majority of the trade, oil as its main good. So this was all about Iran-Israel war. So the fifth part which we're going to talk about is that Operation Epic Fury and Operation Roaring Lion. So Operation Epic Fury. So let's go to the last page, shift slides bit. So Operation Epic Fury. It was launched by USA on Iran, and Operation Roaring Lion was launched by Israel on Iran. In this, Israel have eliminated Ayatollah Khomeini, and USA has eliminated the IRGC headquarters. IRGC, in simple terms, if I want to explain you, is Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is also formed in 1979. We're coming to the end. Let's see who this Big Satan is. Big Satan is the United States of America. This name for the USA was given by the Iranians, or the Iranian regime, I could say. And the Little Satan is the name given to the state of Israel by the Iranians itself. As the USA supports Israel and Israel supports USA in hostile terms, Iran has discovered sort of link between these both, and they've named them Little Satan and Big Satan. So coming to the question in the starting video, where I've asked, are Big Satan and Little Satan at war with Iran's nuclear facilities, or are at war with its nation? Well, I will say both. There are two countries, Israel and USA. The Pahlavi, or the Reza Pahlavi Shah, the Pahlavi dynasty's king, was a pro-Western ally, and supported Western ideology in his country, and he also formulated liberal policies. And Israel is USA is at war with its nation and its government and its regime too. It wants the Shah back. And Israel is the only nuclear powered nation between the Arab countries. So let's just go through this map over here in the Middle East, and I will only map the countries who are nuclear powered. First is United Kingdom, second is Russia, third India, 4 Pakistan, 5 China, and 6 you have North Korea over here. 7 is Israel, of course, 7 is Israel, 8 is United States of America, and the ninth country, which has nuclear power, is France. These are the countries. These are the only 9 countries who has nuclear powers. The enemies surrounded in its neighborhood, such as Syria, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Sudan, Libya. Israel is the only nuclear powered nation, and it's such a great thing. And if Iran also someday becomes a nuclear powered nation, it'll be an ally of all these countries. It'll create an alliance with all these countries and bomb Israel, and there is no Israel anymore. So by now, I think you would understand what is the significance of war and what is the purpose for Israel and USA to wage a war on Iran. And in conclusion, I would like to say USA and Israel are both at war with its nation and at war with its nuclear facilities too. And I'd like to urge you all to comment down on what topic I make a video on next. And I hope you like the video and give me best of luck. Thank you.